Welcome all. Welcome all to the analysis of Football Week 25 in Spain. Leaders again, say Mundo Deportivo, because Barcelona are, and that's their living. There's only one leader, the Diario Sport, also Catalan paper, also accurate. The leader right now, Football Club Barcelona, because of events at the weekend, some of which you'll already have seen. Both the Madrid papers lead with basketball, because Madrid lost at the weekend, and I suppose that's a plan. Commercially, you can understand it. Arbeloa's plan B, the new way. It's back on the grey sofa. Arbeloa, of course, said that I've got this grey sofa that when players with problems come to me, it's mythical, it's hypothetical. It's just an ideology that, yeah, players can come and talk to me. So the entire system is now back on Arbeloa's grey sofa because they lost away in Pamplona. That was Marca, Diario As, Vinicius all on his own because Mbappe's disappeared. And this one, Santiago Segurola, athletic fan but writing in the Madrid paper Diario As, back to bad habits. So look, here's the story. Sports fans, socios, we have 29 goals for you in 9 matches today. We have, while we're talking about it, resurrections, refereeing rows, rotten finishing, the rise of the Rauls, and in that Arctic Circle renaissance for you too. Anyway, all will be explained. It's great to have you here with us. As another Graham would say, on with the show. Look, we kind of have to begin at El Sadar. Osasuna 2, Real Madrid 1. The goals came when Budimir converted a penalty, Vinicius equalised from a Valverde assist, then Raul Garcia in minute 89 made it 2-1. Arbeloa said afterwards, and let's just slow this down a little bit, Osasuna played their game and scored 2 goals on their only 2 shots on target. But I think we can do much better. We have a much higher level to give. We need to show that. We need to play at that level and with much, much more intensity. I know it's not easy to do it on a Wednesday and then again on a Sunday, but that's what's required of us. And this is Real Madrid, not Sparta. This is Real Madrid. Arbeloa added, I said it on Friday. We knew, or at least I was very aware, how difficult it was to come to this stadium. And look, I wasn't wrong. He added about the intensity and the first half display. No, look, this isn't a blow. We're not shaken up. Obviously, nobody likes to lose, least of all Real Madrid, but we're far from shaken up. I warned on Friday that playing Osasuna was difficult and also that this was a very, very long season still to play. I practically said that the season hadn't really even started yet, and even though that might be an exaggeration, I still think the same, that there's a huge distance to travel. I think the first half we had a bit of control at times, but we lack a lot of speed in our play. Against any low block or against any opponent that defends basically in their own half or their own box, you either move the ball much faster or they're going to defend you very easily. It's something that we have to keep improving, keep working on. Be able to create chances on both sides. Right now, we focus a lot of the play down our left wing, which is normal. It's Vinicius. But he said we have to be able to do it on the other side too. Otherwise, obviously, we're easy to defend against. So, we have to work hard. We have to get back to the training ground because on Wednesday we have another final. Another important match where we're fighting for our lives. We have to approach it in the best possible way. Journalists then asked Arbeloa about exactly what he's meaning, and he said, no, I didn't say we were slow as a team. I said, I think that what we lacked in the first half, beside control, was moving the ball faster and creating more danger. That's a matter of concept, of knowing what we have to do when we want to provoke movements in our opponents that create space. So that means continuing to work on it every day, every week, every match. Fine, that's all very true. He basically said that when we're not at our level 100%, anybody can beat you. That's something that we discussed in the changing rooms, something that we're aware of. Every away game is going to be a very difficult task. Our opponents prepare especially very well against us, and we know they give 100% against us, and we have to do the same or we'll lose. Now, these to me are quite condemnatory words from Arbeloa. You can't, for example, hang out Mbappe to dry. Mbappe is the sacred one. He gets all these goals, he's got wonderful marketing, he's a bit of a general in the dressing room, and Florentino at the moment is 100% behind Kylian Mbappe, who I think, although I like him very much as an individual, I enjoy talking to him, his goal record is spectacular, the effort he's putting in isn't necessarily what's needed, partly because his knee is sore. He should have rested, he should have taken games off, he did against Real Sociedad. There needs to be more, because at the moment his touch and his confidence and his movements, none of them are at elite level. And when his work level is already very low, what does that leave you with? A big gap in the team. Vinicius' work rate, Vinicius' pressing has gone up. Now, I want to add and compare to what Osasuna did in order to win. It was late in the match that their ex-player, Victor Muñoz, was pressing down the left. It was 1-1 because Budimir's penalty should not have been given, but the refereeing team again surprised us. I don't know exactly what was going through Lishi's head, but I lie for you guys, the socios. When Raul Garcia gets brought on for Budimir, fannies about in midfield, plays as if he was a prima ballerino, Margot Fontaine, foot out, oh there's a ball coming near me, take it away. Madrid goblet up, give it straight to Valverde, who crosses down the left, and Vinicius 1-1. Raul Garcia looked like a terrible decision from Lishi at that moment. But the resurrection of the Rauls came when Raul Moro picked up a ball at Dani Ceballos, now injured, out for 6, 7, 8 weeks. Kind of gave away, caught Asensio out with his distribution. Raul Moro and Raul Garcia on it like a flash. Raul Moro sends Raul Garcia through. Asensio leaps in. Raul Garcia dances around the challenge, flips it past Courtois. Madness ensues. The Rauls win the game. What a good bit of business Raul Moro has been. And this is where we start our kudos to Pete Pedro, the interceptor Jensen. This is where we start that, because he was the one who got all excited about Raul Moro joining Osasuna from Ajax on loan. He was the one who got a bit hot under the collar about his adoration or respect for an Icelandic guy, an Arctic Circle man who's in this edition this week. We'll come back to that in a second. So we got that right, and Osasuna beat Real Madrid simply because of doing two things. One, Lishi took a huge risk on Raul Garcia. It nearly backfired because he gave away the goal, and then he produced something brilliant. And when Lishi talks about Raul Garcia, he gets all excited about his quality, about how brilliant he is, what a privilege it is to work with him, but he doesn't get very much game time because Ante Budimir is simply off the scale. Right now, things look very rosy for the Italian trainer and his Pamplonan side, who beat Real Madrid and bumped them off the top of the league. Let's look now, if you'll stay with me, at Athletic Club 2, Elche 1. This was the Friday night game. The goals came from Guruceta in the 63rd. Andre Silva got a penalty in the 68th, and then Guruceta got the winning penalty late on. Pre-match, Eder Sarabia had been eulogising Ernesto Valverde because Manu, Sarabia's dad, was an Athletic Club player. So the kid went to watch Athletic in their absolute league-winning prime when he saw his dad playing with Valverde on the wing. So he went on and on and on and on about how brilliant Valverde was, how much he respected him. Then as the match was finishing, the two men were caught in very push-me-pull-you intense discussion about the late penalty, and asked about it at the end. Valverde was like, no, it wasn't a big fight. I wanted to continue the discussion. We were talking about the penalties, and we all know that everybody sees it always from their own perspective. Valverde added, I always see any decision as going in my team's favour. He sees it as going in his team's favour. That's all. Any further discussion? Anything else? Sarabia said, yeah, listen, this is a bad losing streak. And here's how we break it. What worries me is that the players are too focused on the result. If you play for Elche thinking too much about the result, about protecting a point, about not losing, about having to win, about the standings in the table, about relegation, about whatever, it's going to severely limit what we do. If we at Elche play with more mental freedom and more determination, like we did the other day against Osasuna, then we'll be much closer to getting a victory, getting the things that we want. There aren't any tricks. Victory won't come just because we want it to. It's going to come by doing things more like we did against Real Sociedad or against Osasuna. Then Sarabia talked about Valverde. He said, no, I wasn't furious or angry. The two of us were just discussing that penalty play, that's all. But no. Then we had a joint interview for the television together, and I've already said I've got the utmost respect for the Chinguri. Firstly, because I used to come and see my old man at San Mamés playing many times and watch Valverde playing with them, and I enjoyed his football. Secondly, because I think he's the best coach in athletics history. That's it. I just think that the penalty was a bad decision. And before we go any further, let's back Sarabia on that, because what you learn, for all of you who are old enough to remember the football magazine Shoot, there was an issue called You Are the Ref. And I remember very much being taught in the 70s, and this hasn't changed. If you put your head too low and there's contact between knee or boot and head, you're the one who's committed the foul, because there's a certain level, which is below waistline, where if you put your head in, you're risking it. Laporte did that. Pedro Bigas was trying to clear the ball in a totally natural manner. There was contact, but it wasn't a penalty, but it was, because they fucking gave it. I've got to say, I tucked it away. A win for Athletic. Jamie, Mr. La Liga Television Eastern will tell you, aside from the arguments over VAR and arguments about bias, Jamie's very worried that there are referees who don't know the rules. What a fucking horrendous prospect that is. Anyway, look, there are, I promise you, other things to talk about than simply referees. And while we're up talking about the Basque Country, Real Sociedad drew 3-3 with Oviedo. 2 goals to open up from Uruguayan Fede Viñas. They were 2-0 up away from home Oviedo. Oscarson, Chuleta Char, and Bailly completed the scoring. Bailly after normal time was up, 91st minute headed goal. On which subject, here are the nuggets. There were 5 headers out of the 6 goals. Viñas, another nugget, yay! Now he's got more goals thanks to these 2 than red cards this season. 5 plays 3. 3 goals and assists in Viñas' last 5 games, but only 1 win, and he's out of contract in the summer, age 27. Is he doing enough to make other teams think? Because Oviedo, irrespective of what their Uruguayan manager says, Almada, are going down. Now, fine, Viñas 2 goals, but 2 goals for Ori Oscarson, the Arctic Circle man. Pete Jensen said months and months and months ago, when Oscarson looked to me like a floppy, no good, complaining, out of his depth teenager. He wasn't quite a teenager at that stage, he was about 20. Pete said, I think I see something. Indeed, he possibly did. This season, he's had 1 start in all competitions. This season, he's played 239 minutes between league and cup. But he's got 5 goals. That's 1 every 48 minutes. What do you think about that? Would you sign him? Is he growing up? Rino Matarazzo posted the 3-3 draw, said, listen, yeah, I'm not happy at all. He kept on repeating that 5 times before he began to talk about anything else. He said there wasn't enough energy in this game. There was too much, what's the word? Not quite conservatism, but we played with the handbrake on. We weren't adventurous, there were too many back passes, not enough runs in behind, not enough vertical movement with the ball. It's a pleasure to hear a manager over La Real or anybody else saying we need to play more aggressively, more attacking football. And we conceded 3 from set pieces. Those are stoppages where everything is planned. We've got setups for that. We've talked about exactly how to defend, particularly the first goal, what space Oviedo like to play in, and still, he didn't say we fucked it up, but that was his tone. So he condemned it as very, very unfortunate. And then he was asked about Oscarson. He said, it's incredible how valuable Ori is to us right now. When he comes onto the pitch, you always get the feeling he can change the game, because at the same time he gives Mikel Oyarzabal more space. He can pin the defensive line of the opponents, and that combination of pinning the opponents and giving Oyarzabal more space is lethal. I like him a lot. But it's important for me to keep the lad healthy, to keep him around for a long period of time. He's on a very good path, and I don't think it will be long before he plays his first game as a starter. It'll be second all round, but I think he's meaning in the league. Almada talked about Oviedo's fight for survival and had to cling on to the raft in the stormy sea. Yes, I see it as feasible, he said. There are many matches left, and if we continue to perform like this, we'll be closer to victories and therefore to salvation. Talking about salvation, save us, please become a paid subscriber. It's about keeping us on the road for £3.99 a month or 30 quid until the end of 2026, covering everything: Europa League, Champions League, Conference League, Copa del Rey, Spain games, La Liga. We're there for you, be there for us. The description is there, support us. 30 quid till the end of the year, £3.99 a month. Please become a socio. Betis 1, Rayo 1. Opening goal by Cedric Bakambu, equaliser by Isi. I love Bakambu. What a great name to begin with. Cedric. The 34-year-old only had 23 touches in the game, but another goal, another good goal. Ratiu, the right back at Rayo, continued his personal quest for Rayo's and Romania's Maradona of the Year award. Last week he bamboozled Ruggeri in Rayo's 3-0 win over Leti, and this week he sent everybody out for a hot dog when crossing for Isi's goal. He's playing like a winger, the right back, made a new contract with Rayo, which right now looks absolutely brilliant. And I don't know, at the end, Rayo should have won it. There is a challenge on the edge of the box by Valentin, and the confusion begins because there are two brothers who are in charge of the refereeing. There are Juan Martinez Munuera, who's obviously trying to fuck me up with his Kawasaki right now, and Miguel Martinez Munuera. They look like twins. So because I was working, I was watching this on television, the camera would cut to the penalty box where there was Juan Martinez Munuera, and then would cut to the touchline where the Juan Martinez Munuera. It began to look like a comedy about time travel in football. How's he there in two places? Because they look absolutely identical. Nonetheless, what they did was they allowed the VAR referee, Gianni Infantino impersonator and general idiot Pablo González Fuertes, to look at the stamp, which was absolutely clear, and not give a penalty against Valentin Gomez. Here's the moment, and Daza, fuck my old sea boots, what a bad decision. Atletico 4, Espanyol 2. The goals came early for Espanyol's Joffre. Then there's Sorlot and Giuliano and Lookman again. What a buy he's been. Sorlot gets 4-1, Exposito makes it 4-2. This has been described by almost all the newspapers as a montaña rusa. What does that mean? A Russian mountain. It's because we would use the Atleti are in Jekyll and Hyde form. They lose to Bodo or Glimt, I can't remember which one it was. They draw 3-3 away at Bruges, having led 2-0. They beat Betis 5-0, then they lose at home immediately afterwards to Betis 1-0. Blah, 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 blah. On and on and on we go. Tucked in the middle of that was a gem of a performance where they whop Barcelona 4-0. But it's like this. Now that, in this culture, is a montaña rusa, a Russian mountain. Why? Well, roller coasters emanated from Russia in the 1800s, when, to celebrate their mad, freezing cold winter, they would build big ladders and high wooden structures which got covered in ice. You would sit on it with a blanket and go shooting down like this, and a Frenchman saw it, took it to Paris, decided that the French winter wasn't enough to be able to get that enjoyable feeling of your heart and your stomach bouncing up and down as you fly downwards from a high direction, and therefore invented what we now know as the roller coaster. So the Russian mountain is what Atleti are involved in right now, up and down and up and down, and they better hope it's an up at home to Bruges on Tuesday night at the Metropolitano. This, in Russian mountain terms, was their first win in 4 in the league. They've shipped 6 in the previous 2 games. Now it's 8 after this, but this was a win and they played reasonably well. They were creative, and One of the things I like, given that I've got half an eye on the World Cup and Spain's performance this summer, as long as Guadalajara isn't still a war zone and ICE don't arrest me and throw me in Guantanamo Bay. Baena reminded everybody that he's gifted. Hasn't been a good season, but he set up a beautiful goal for Giuliano Simeone. Griezmann again was all pizzicato and fantastique, magical footballer rolling back the years. Big win for Atleti. Getafe 0, Sevilla 1. Gibril Sol scored the goal, the guy who I keep reminding you on his presentation at Sevilla said, I run around, I'm hard working, I'm an honest footballer, but don't expect goals from me. 4 this season, including this decent winner from the edge of the box. Janashai came on, still with a bit of a, if not a, kind of looks like, train spotting haircut. That's the honest truth about that. And Adams lays the ball off to Sol, goal. This will be one of those sticky games, I think, when Almeida's employers at Sevilla look at his salary and his performance review and say, well, what do we need a coach for? Because Almeida on a 7-game ban was way up in a glass box in the Getafe stand, and it didn't seem to make much difference. Sevilla actually played pretty well. They outcompeted Getafe for large spells. They played the little football that was on show, they produced. So there's a point where here we fucking go. Alright. Fucking arsehole. Honest to fuck. And he gave me that what do you want look, and I'll fucking show him what I want in a minute, which is him to get a fucking fist in the pus. Anyway, she was laughing at me now. You warn me if he comes back so I get up and I can dosh him first. This was a game whereby, again, you look at Getafe and they're rolling around. It's astonishing the number of times that Getafe players get bumped in the face. Honestly, it's like some sort of biblical plague because they're all rolling around. You tap them on the knee, you kick the ball and they're rolling around holding their face. Bordalas, honestly, I find your football philosophy absolutely and completely disgusting. Time for an adios. Nonetheless, 3 points for Sevilla, the derby coming up next week. That was timely. Barcelona beat Levante 3-0. The goals at Camp Nou came from Marc Bernal, Frenkie de Jong, milksop, and Fermin, a busker, a kicker from outside the box, left-footed onto the post and into the net. Cancelo had a marvellous game because he's been worked so hard. He said, when I came back here from Saudi Arabian football, I wasn't in great shape, but I've never been pushed. I've never been worked as hard on fitness as I have under Flick's regime. I feel good. And he just looked as if he was going to have the easiest time of it. Hal Toljan, the right wing back in a 5-man defence, kept giving Cancelo space. Because there are 5, you've got time to shuttle across and make sure that he's closed down. But the Portuguese had so much fun off his left foot, on his right foot. Looked like a very good attacking player. Is he any use in defence? Not sure that that's changed all that much. Nonetheless, second goal for Marc Bernal, beautifully lofted in from Eric Garcia, tucked away neatly by the midfielder, who's going to get more than his share of goals now that he's becoming the alternative pivote to De Jong and Pedri. Pedri came back, standing ovation, quite right too. Hello, maestro. Then there's the Lamine story. When he gets told he's coming off, he's a little bit miffed. Now, I've seen this before. There was one last season with about a minute left of a Champions League match. He was brought off. He'd been man of the match. I interviewed him and he was kind of dragged to the interview position with a black cloud over his head. At the time, I was still doing this for you, and I pointed out that I'd seen Messi in exactly the same level of fury about competitive anger. Not pissed off at the boss, not about to cause a war with the media. Just like, don't take me off. I've got more to do. I can win this game. I can still produce a goal. He's got 29 goal contributions, aged 18 in 33 matches. But the truth is, things aren't coming off for Lamine right now. So when he was taken off, that bile, that anger about when is my form going to come back, launched out. He badly needs a rest. Got a clear week this week, as he did last week. All it is overplaying, something that can be corrected. His stats are absolutely extraordinary. But just at the moment, the magic isn't quite there. It'll come back. Celta 2, Mallorca 0. Worked this game, 2 for Aspas. Let's go for nuggets again, shall we? Aspas scored the 50th penalty of his career. He's missed 10, but 50 penalty goals is really something. More so, that's 3 goals and an assist in 2 matches now. These against Mallorca, plus 1 in the net against PAOK Salonika, and an assist too for, I think it was Swedberg away in Greece. There are only 5 players in the entire history of La Liga whose goals have specifically brought points for the team. That's Messi, Cristiano, Raúl, Benzema, Griezmann, and then it's Aspas. After the match, his junior, because remember, Giraldez is younger than Aspas, he was asked, have you changed your opinion on Iago Aspas's contract renewal? Which was a daft question, because obviously the answer is going to be no. And indeed, let me just check, the answer was no. Giraldez said, I haven't changed my opinion at all. I still think that I hope these matches this week have encouraged Iago to continue. I think he's feeling good. He's happy, and I hope it stays that way. But, as I said, I don't think we need to be talking about this all week or pressurising Aspas, because it's his decision. It's an individual, personal one. And I think he's clear we all want him to continue for many reasons, but mainly because he's a game-changing footballer. Now, Aspas, I think, turns 38 in December, and after the game admitted, I'd already mentioned that I was evaluating as time goes on. The truth is, I'm in no hurry. I'm feeling great, and those positive feelings are also reflected on weekends and matches when I get to compete again. He's got 7 goals and 6 assists this season, and he's making Celta attractive, as well as a force 6th in La Liga and potentially going through to the last 16 in the Europa League. Finally, Villarreal 2, Valencia 1. Now, the goals came from Ramazzani from the penalty spot, Comesaña, who scored a very ungainly goal, but scored a goal, and then Papeguet. Talking about ungainly goals, this is a match whereby Danjuma late on missed a one-on-one chance. You'd go so far as to say that the Dutchman had a sitter. He's playing when Dani Rava has had 3 starts this season. And I'm not saying that it needs to be Rava for Sadiq, but Hugo Duro was on the bench, Diego Lopez nowhere again. Danjuma came on and really added nothing. I do not see what Corberan sees in him. And when you combine that with Umar Sadiq, who by all accounts, and when I've seen him or heard him speaking, is an absolutely lovable chap. He had a late opportunity too, where honestly it was like an octopus trying to dance a tarantella or an 8-some reel. Limbs everywhere, one leg wrapped around the other leg, and eventually a tame shot into the arms of the Villarreal Brazilian goalkeeper. Players crying out all around him for him to square it. Sadiq is an honest trier. There are many people I work with, maybe you're in that group too, who like him, who are willing him to do well. But I honestly can barely remember watching a more uncoordinated, less reliable, gangly, big accident waiting to happen of a striker. But he's maybe better than Danjuma, and that says it all. Until tomorrow, when we'll be previewing Mourinho and Benfica coming to Real Madrid 1-0 down against Arbeloa's side, looking for a place in the last 16 of the Champions League. Hasta entonces.